If your athletes are underperforming and they're not consistent, this is the reason why. I'm Brian Cain, mental performance coach and creator of the Mental Performance Coaches Certification course. And for the last 20 years, I've had the privilege to work with some of the top coaches and athletes in the world. And if I were to take 20 years of mental performance coaching experience, 8 UFC world champions, 4 Cy Young Award winners, a Heisman Trophy winner, countless state and national champions, Olympic medalists, and break that down into one strategy that you as a mental performance coach should be using with your clients, it would be this: the success checklist. The success checklist is literally having your clients write down their process of what it is they're going to do during different parts of their day to make them more consistent with their preparation and development, which leads to more confidence, which leads to better in competition performance. Look, you're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to sink to your training. And your training has to be intentional, has to be intense, and it has to be documented. Out of your head, on paper, here's what I'm doing. Insert the success checklist. There's a great coach by the name of Marshall Goldsmith. He wrote a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There, a book called Triggers. And when I interviewed Marshall for a podcast, I said, in your awesome experience as a coach, what's the number one strategy you use with your clients? And he said, success checklist. I'm a slow learner. It took me over a decade to implement that with my clients. And when I did, I saw consistency and confidence go through the roof. I saw production go through the roof. It's one of the first strategies that I installed with Corbin Burns, who I started to work with in 2019, and he won the Cy Young in 2021 as the best pitcher in baseball. He's been a 3-time All-Star and one of the best in the game. It's a strategy that you should be implementing immediately with your clients, because what it does is it increases awareness. It brings clarity to strategy and allows your athletes to get started with taking action. 3 steps to maximum growth: awareness, strategy, action. Awareness, what should I be doing? That's your checklist. Strategy, that's what's on the checklist. Action, I go and do it. And when do I do it? We break up your checklist into certain aspects of the day. Typically an AM routine, and then middle of the day. If it's an athlete, it might be at the field routine. If it's a corporate executive, it might be in the office routine. And then we have a PM routine, what I do before I go to bed or when I get home for the day. And maybe we have a family routine. Maybe there's a section for other. So we break our day up into blocks and into sections. And on our checklist are those roots that we talked about in our last video. If you missed that, click on the link below to check that out, where we talked about the difference between the fruit, the outcome goals, and the root, the process goals that deliver the fruit. Well, your success checklist are those roots. It are those process goals that are going to deliver the fruit or the outcome goals that you want. And if we go back to our first worksheet, which if you missed that, check that out in the link below as well, is to allow you to control the things that you can control. So if it's controllable, we focus on it and we dominate it. If it's not controllable, we let it go. So we take that outcome goal, that fruit, and we reverse engineer that back into these roots to say, this is what I'm going to do to produce that fruit. We take those roots and then we put them into a success checklist. And as a coach, when we put those roots into our success checklist, we now provide that clarity, accountability, and support, the 3 traits of greatness for our clients. Now, where this really moves the needle for you as a coach is strengthening of the relationship. I know exactly what my clients should be working on and when they're going to do it. We intentionally set the triggers. If you understand what we talk about here in Pillar 7, routines and habits of excellence, where triggers start behaviors. So if I want a client to listen to my Mental Performance Daily podcast, I have a set of trigger, either having breakfast or when they're on their way to the field or on their way to school. If I want them to read, we're going to set that trigger when they get into bed. If I want them to send me any data, maybe throughout the day of an Oura Ring score or some type of recovery, we're going to set that trigger. So setting triggers of an AM routine, an at-field routine, or a PM routine allow your clients to be more consistent. It allows you to then hold them more accountable and provide that support that they need to do the little roots, to do the little everyday activities and behaviors and tasks that are going to align with those outcome goals. So the app that we use for this success checklist is a free app called Habit Share. And on the worksheet that you can download below, you're going to see a QR code that you can scan to get this free app. And now on that app, if you go to the Friends section up on the top, you can add a friend. I have every one of my clients as friends in Habit Share. Every time we get on a call, we start with looking at their roots, their success checklist, and we see, are they checking the box green, meaning they did it? Are they checking it red, they didn't do it? they checking it gray? They didn't need to do it that day, or are they not checking it at all? And I know from experience that if they're not checking it at all, it's a slippery slope, because we cannot rely on our head to remember to do all the things that it takes to be elite. We've got to rely on our system. And our system is a success checklist. So doing it in Habit Share allows me to see, and I can set up notifications for an athlete that every time they check in on Habit Share, I get a notification. I can quickly hit them back with a text. They know that I'm in the fight with them, that we are arm in arm locked in, and they get that support from me. The other part I like about it is, as a coach, I have my success checklist. And every time I do it, they get a notification that I'm living what it is I'm teaching. And I think as a coach, if you want to have maximum influence and impact, it has to be authentic. It has to be genuine. It has to be a part of you. It has to be in you before it's in what you do, right? What we're trying to teach in mental performance coaches, as much as it's taught, it's really caught. They're going to catch it from you. Are you living a process over outcome? How are you living on a daily basis? It's going to allow what it is you're doing to come across in your coaching. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be authentic. So I think for you as a coach, using the success checklist with your clients is going to create clarity, what to do, and when you create those blocks of the day, AM, at field, PM routine, when they're going to do it. It's going to allow you to hold them accountable so you can inspect what you expect when you get on your calls. And it's a great way to start all of your coaching calls. How are you doing with Habit Share? You can go through a process of well, better, how. What do you feel like you did well this week? What do you think you can do better next week? How are you going to do it? So you can provide that accountability and the support. If you check their Habit Share, maybe every day, maybe every third day, and someone hasn't checked in, you can hit them with a text message between your calls, between your coaching sessions to say, hey, are you doing okay? It's unlike you to not check in on your success checklist. Is everything okay? And you're able to provide that support so they know that you're with them in the fight. So this is our third video in this little series we're putting together, where we're providing you worksheets that you can use with your clients and athletes to help enhance your mental performance coaching. And if you're a team coach, you can use these with your teams to really start implementing a mental performance program around the controllables, around the outcomes that you want as a team, but the roots as to how you're going to get there, around each individual player having a Habit Share success checklist to create accountability. Now, if you are a team sport coach, this is how we've used Habit Share to also enhance leadership. So for example, let's take the Texas A&M baseball program. They've got 40 players. So what we did is we took 8 boat crew members, 8 student athlete leaders, and we put together 8 teams of 5. So player 1 had 4 players on his boat crew that he was leading, and that one player was responsible to make sure that the other 4 in his boat crew were checking in on Habit Share daily. So there's no one person looking at all 40 athletes, although I have all of them in my Habit Share. So when I meet with them one-on-one, I'm able to check in and see where they're all at. And that one person was able to monitor those 5. And what we would do is each week or each 2 weeks, we would switch who the boat crew leader was, who was responsible for checking in on the Habit Share of their teammates. And then those 8 members would report back and say, hey, here's who's accomplished what, here's who's on. And that way it really provided a culture of high performance, where if somebody wasn't checking Habit Share, they had someone looking at that and they could address it and keep everybody moving forward. And it's largely how that program was the #1 team in the country this season. So if you're looking to create leadership and you're looking to create culture and high performance, and as Alabama football coach Nick Saban would say, he'd say, people who are mediocre don't like being around high performers, and high performers don't like being around those who are mediocre. So if you're a coach and your livelihood is relied on the performance of those 18, call it 14 to 24-year-old athletes, wouldn't you want to know if someone's a high performer and they're into a process that's going to deliver results by keeping a success checklist? Wouldn't you like to know maybe this person needs a little bit more accountability, a little bit more support because they can't consistently follow through and do the things that they said they were going to do? Rather than wait until that person drops the ball, that person doesn't perform when needed because they're not prepared, and then they lack confidence because they haven't had a checklist that they followed on a daily basis to keep them organized, to keep them prepared and confident. Wouldn't you like to know that ahead of time so that you could troubleshoot that and support that athlete to be the best version of them? Well, this is how you do it with the success checklist, and using an app Habit Share is what we suggest. So again, controlling what you can control. setting that fruit, what do we want to accomplish, and watering those roots to help us to get there, taking those roots, putting them into a success checklist so we can create clarity, accountability, and support, and create that confidence from preparation so that we can deliver results. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Check out the worksheet below. Use it with your clients, with your team. Share the video with those other coaches, other high performers that you know. And thanks for being here. You dominate the day.